Upozorena sam da neke naši dragi gosti moraju uskoro da nas napuste, tako da nekako bih htjela bih da čuju i ovo što smo priredili u završnici u ovom okruglom stolu koji nosi naziv Srpsko-skandinavski odnosi, prošlost, sadašnjost i budućnost. Dakle, jedna krajnje aktualna tema o kojoj smo razmišljali kako bi organizovali ovaj sto, pa smo se nekako odlučili za koncept da to ipak bude okrugli sto koji će ostaviti najviše prostora za diskusiju, dakle za aktivno uključenje naše publike, obzirom na činjenicu da najveći dio vas živi ovdje u skandinavskim zemljama i svakako ima svoje mišljenje u kom pravcu idu ti odnosi, u kom bi trebalo da idu, eventualno možda ima nas nadahnutih sa vizijama, nadam se da ima i takvih, ali prije svega mi ćemo ovdje sa stručnog stajališta pokušati da osvjetlimo od zemlje do zemlje kako su ti odnosi tekli, kako su se formirali, da li su uvijek bili ovakvi kakvi su danas, šta je bitno u njima. Počet ćemo u ovaj okrugli sto počet ćemo sa Knutom. Ja sam ga već Knutom Flodvikom Thoresenom, već sam ga ranije predstavila. Jeg har tidligere præsenteret dig og har sagt, hvad du står for, at det er jo den anden verdenskrig, at det er en hovedinteresse, at du er jo interesseret dig i krig, jeg tror politisk og selve udførelsen af krigen, måske den mangfoldige side af krigen. Og så håber jeg på, at du vil også belyse norsk-serbiske forhold i forhold til din erfaring som officer i Kosovo og i Bosnien. Så det vil interessere sikkert publikum, hvad du har at sige, for du har også skrevet om det. Så det var dig, der starter, og så bagefter er det jo, jeg vil også prøve at sige nogle ord om dansk-serbiske forhold. Og så der står jo Johannes Solberg for religion, eventuelt kan sige, hvordan i fremtiden og hvad er situationen i nutiden om den religiøse side. Jo. Јелена Mila, som sidder her som vores kunstner, som har en del har forsøgt i stor del, tror jeg nok, lykkedes det at blive del af kulturscenen i Sverige. Jeg vil også sige noget om sine erfaringer, og så synes jeg, det er især interessant, at hun også bidrager med sin erfaring, med sin livlige, kan man sige, mange livlige situationer, som vil belyse den ild, der står mellem to verdener. Tak skal du have. Så nu er det Knut, der skulle fortælle lidt om norsk-serbiske forhold.
Yeah, I will talk a little bit about, I'll take this in English. I think that
det bestemmer du.
It's,
er det bedre måske, er det flere, der forstår norsk?
English.
English.
Okay, right. And I'll try to keep this to 10 minutes approximately. It's going to be a fast run through from what I know as an historian. This is modern history, approximately 150 years we're talking about now, but there were also Norwegian-Serbian relations before that too. I heard today that Emperor Dusan had a Norwegian bodyguard from the Varingard, which were Norwegian, call it Norwegian mercenaries who were fighting all over, even, I don't know, you know more about this, right? About this Varingard, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was for the emperor in Constantinople.
Yes, yes. He also had this, it was a private army. So this is a very interesting story, but it was new to me that Emperor Dušan had his personal Norwegian bodyguard, a tall blonde Viking who were taller than himself, and he was a big man. Okay, Serbian-Norwegian relations through history. Yes, I chose a historical approach to the topic because I am a historian. Norway and Serbia are relatively small countries. In early times there were limited connections due to distance and that people didn't travel that much as now. Nevertheless, the relationship between Norwegians and Serbs have always stood strong. And I will give an overview to some of the examples, and I will go through some of the individuals that meant a lot in this connection. There were diplomats, officers, writers, a lot of people, both Serbs and Norwegians, that took care of this connection. The modern state of Serbia gained its independence. You can say it was created on the Berlin Conference in 1878. To put it simple, you could say that before this, Serbia had more or less been under the Ottoman Empire for 400 years. And you could say that this, this is a simplification, but yes. One of the first Norwegians to travel to Serbia to fight for the Serbian cause was a Norwegian baron. His name was Wilhelm Fredrik Jarlsberg. He entered the Serbian army where he became a sergeant. Well, Jarlsberg, he was wounded and decorated for bravery by the Serbian king in 1876. It was maybe 2 or 3 more Norwegian volunteers who came to help Serbia during the uprising against the Turks, but I'm still looking into that story. Norway broke away from Denmark in 1814, only to enter union with Sweden. It lasted until the country became fully independent after the dissolution of the union in 1905. After this, it was a flourishing of Norwegian nationalism in many ways. Serbia became a role model for Norway and Norwegians. At the end of the 19th century, if you go through Norwegian newspapers from, let's say, around 1890 until 1930, there are so many positive stories about Serbs and Serbia, about the heroic little Serbian people who fought for survival and the right to their own nation and national identity. So for Norwegians, Serbia was actually a role model. In March 1909, a trade treaty was signed by the Norwegian and the Serbian head of states. The background for this treaty was the so-called Pig War between Serbia and Austria-Hungary. It was Austria and Hungary tried to implement a custom blockade. It was unsuccessful, but then Serbia looked to other places to get the goods. So the blockade itself led to a Norwegian increase of Norwegian export to Serbia. The agreement meant that Norwegian goods imported to Serbia were not subjected to customs. It was still a modest trade between Norway and Serbia, which mainly consists of fish products, and dried meat from Norway and dried meat and plums from Serbia. Nevertheless, this led to more mutual interest in Serbia for Norway and from Norway to Serbia. So then you had like writers like Isidora Sekulic, who traveled to Norway. She was, as you know, the first president of the Association of Serbian Writers and founder and honorary member of the PEN in Yugoslavia, and the first female member of the academical science in Serbia. She was the author of a book called Travel Letters from Norway, which was published in 1912. These letters are among the most famous and beloved Serbian travel literature, and the book was translated by Sorica Mitic and Jostein Sand Nilsen in 2009 to Norwegian. During the Balkan Wars, 1912-1913, it was quite clear that the sympathy in Norway was lying on the Serbian side. So many Norwegians, doctors primarily and nurses, they traveled to Serbia to enlist as medical personnel in the Serbian army. These doctors and nurses tended wounded on several fronts, and many of them were later decorated by the Serbian royal house for their effort. Norwegian aid to Serbia during the Balkans War, I will not go into depth in that. It will be an exhibition on the Serbian embassy this year about them, but it is still something that we should study more, because there's a lot of archives in the Norwegian and photographs in the Norwegian National Archives taken by these doctors and nurses. I just want to mention one name, the Norwegian consul to Belgrade, Henry Fegelin. He didn't only arrange the medical help and volunteers from not only from Norway but from other mainly Western countries, Scotland, France. He helped them to get into the Serbian army, and he also managed to import Solingen sabers from Norway to the Serbian army. But perhaps the best known Norwegian friend to the Serbian people in this time was Colonel Henrik Angell. Henrik Angell, he was a well-known figure in Norway in this time. He was both an adventurer and a writer, and a personal friend of the Serbian royal house. He participated as an observer in the Balkans War on Serbian side on several fronts, and later he wrote a very good book. The book is called When a Small People Fight for Its Survival, Serbian Soldier Tales. During the First World War, he tried to enter the Serbian army. He was 58 years old. He was going to be a general in Norway. He resigned from his command because Norway was neutral in the First World War, but he was very angry about this because he wanted Norway to. So he entered the French Foreign Legion and became a lieutenant by the age of 58. On the end of the First World War, it was a very small campaign, which is very not known. It was Serbian army, Canadian army, and French army that went into fight against the Reds in Arkhangelsk in Russia. And that campaign didn't last very long, but he was actually an officer in that campaign. He froze both his feet and on a patrol long behind the Russian lines. He was almost captured by the Russians, but some Serbian soldiers, they managed to save him, and he had to amputate all his toes and everything. They left him for dead at the pile of dead, but he survived. Very interesting story. Yes. Norway, as I said, was neutral in the First World War, but several thousand Norwegians volunteered to fight, and many Norwegian soldiers ended up on the Saloniki front, fighting side by side with Serbian soldiers, not in Serbian uniform, but they fought side by side with Serbian soldiers. In Norwegian newspapers, you can still read these heroic tales about Serbian soldiers and Serbian bravery in the First World War. And I would lift up especially the Norwegian writer Johan Borgen. He was a very good, strong friend of Serbia. He wrote a very famous book called The Last Vikings. He is a quite famous Norwegian writer. In the years after the First World War, there was a flourishing of industry in parts of Serbia as well as Norway. Export and import between the countries increased. Just need to check. I will still continue for another 5 minutes. Yeah. In 1931, the first association, Norway and Kingdom Yugoslavia, was established. The driving forces from the Norwegian side were well-known figures in Norway, such as Professor Hjalmar Broch, the famous author Peter Egge, and the association leader in Belgrade was the Norwegian consul George Roche. He is a very interesting figure. I just want to see, can you see if there is, yeah, here it is.
Is it your book?
What's this one? This one. No, this is not this one. Sorry. I'll just find this book I want to show. Here. Yeah. This book, it's written by Dušan Krstic. It's called Gospodin Roš. Roš, he's interesting because he was a Norwegian counselor in Belgrade, and he was the leader of this Norwegian Yugoslav club or association in Belgrade. In the First World War, he was a brave Serbian officer. He was injured 2 times. He was participating in several battles. He was captured. He tried to escape 2-3 times. And he was a pioneer in Serbian civilian and military aviation. He married a Norwegian woman called Åsa, the daughter of the writer Peter Egge. She changed her name to Glumица later. And in the interwar period, he was a very successful businessman. And he was in charge of he was head of the Serbian-German trade chamber in the interwar period. Roš organized and financed the reconstruction of the Gračanica monastery in Kosovo. And during the Second World War, he actually used his contacts among the Germans and arranged for guarantees from the Germans, from the Gestapo actually, for them to protect the destructions from the monastery from Albanian extremists. So this shows the grey zones of the war. Very interesting. He ended, of course, up on the death list of the communists after the war, and he took his family with Åsa and escaped Yugoslavia in 1944. And he ended up via Buenos Aires. He ended up in Germany in 1961. And he was a key person in the reconstruction of the Hilander monastery from 1961, which were in a horrible state in this time. It's a film made of George Roš, which will be presented, and I hope that we can show this film in Norway also, because this has some connection. During the Second World War, as I said, more than around 4,049 is the official number of the prisoners that were sent from German-occupied Serbia and the so-called independent state of Croatia. These were mainly Serbs. Between 93 and 95% of them were ethnical Serbs. Around half of them came from Serbia, and half of them came from independent state of Croatia. These prisoners, they lived under horrible conditions. They died here. Many of them, they lived and died in horrible conditions. And especially in these 5 camps that were run by the SS, the conditions were horrible. In some of these camps, the mortal rate were up to 80%. I wrote the book about them now, this year. It's those who died on the Blood Road, Serbian prisoners in Norway, 1942 to 1945, where I have interviewed family members of the prisoners. So I traveled in Serbia and in other places, the Balkan, Norway, interviewed people. So this is historical facts based on documents and archives research, but also interview with family members. And as I say, every family owns the right to their own history. So, for instance, a family who had the grandfather was a partisan and would be very proud of that. He would speak different than a family member of a royalist or a victim of Ustasha. So, but I say I don't take any sides here. I just write about Serbian prisoners, and I let every family own their own history. I think that's important. Just put it in the context with the facts. Okay, so this history, because so many Norwegians, Norwegian locals, they saw what happened to these prisoners, especially women and children. They tried to help as much as they could, also men. This was not the Norwegian resistance movement. Mainly, these were civilian Norwegians, regular Norwegians who lived and did it out of sympathy for the prisoners that lived in such horrible conditions. Like, for instance, a very good friend of mine, Magnhild Martinussen. She's a Norwegian woman. She's now in her nearly 90 years old. As a child, she was 8 years old. She saw the prisoners who suffered. She was sent by a mother to give some fish to the prisoners the first day, and she was caught by a German soldier, put a bayonet on her throat. But she continued every day to give them food, every day as long as the prisoners were there, you know. And now she's an old woman, she's nearly blind, and I hope that somehow we can get some gratitude to her and the 2-3 who are still alive from Serbia, actually. We try to do that. I don't know how that case is now, but there should be, you know. Yeah, so this was the basis of the new friendship between Norwegians and Serbs. In 1945, the first Norwegian-Yugoslav association were established in Trondheim. This was not a big success because this was based on personal friendship, and the prisoners were sent back to socialist Yugoslavia. They were not looked upon in the beginning as heroes because they were captured. So they were not treated very well in Yugoslavia when they came back. Okay, some of them who had been prominent partisans, okay, the rest were just sent home mainly. Some even ended up in prison. But from 1948, when Stalin broke with Tito, it was a new story, because then the importance of the relation between Norway and the Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia became more important, because Tito broke with Stalin. Norway had the first Secretary General of the United Nations. Yugoslavia wanted to have some role in the United Nations, which Norway had. Norway were one of the first members of the NATO, which had a different character back then as of now. So this cooperation became more important, and then you started to use this prison history as a basis for this. And then one story was told. It was a story of the fighting Yugoslav people, united people, Yugoslavia, who had been partisans, everybody, and the Norwegian helpers, and it was forgotten about Ustaša genocides, about other people who resisted, about Norwegians who did bad things in the camps. It was only 1-2 stories that were told. So, but today, we can tell the whole story. I think it's not about stepping on anyone or changing the story or anything. It's just about telling the whole story, add things to the story. Okay, the Civil War in 1990s and the breakup of Yugoslavia, which ended in the tragic NATO bombings. It was some difficulties in the political relations between Norway and Yugoslavia. Norway didn't drop one single bomb on Serbia. I'm proud to say that we didn't drop one single bomb. We had say that Norway and Greece are the 2 countries that didn't really. We had a squadron down there, F-16 flights, but they did observing missions. I'm not trying to defend that or anything. I'm just saying that we didn't drop a single bomb on Serbia. But we see now that the relationship between Norwegians and Serbs are revitalized now in a good way. Both now through the work that we are doing in the Blood Foundation and what Branko has done, what other people have done now, you see an increased revitalization of the relationship. So for me it's important that we see beyond the 90s, we see beyond the NATO bombings and look back to the roots of the relationship between our people, because that's really strong and it survived through these very hard years. And basically that's it, what I was going to say now. Thank you.
Teško je nastaviti nakon ovako sjajnog izlaganja doktora Knuta Plovika. Toresena, međutim ipak smo prisiljeni da malo se krećemo. Ja ću pokušati u svom ne tako dugom izlaganju da kažem nešto o dansko-srpskim odnosima. Evo, ja sam isto tako to ispisala na 2 strane, pa da čujete šta sam ja to napisala o tim odnosima koji su isto tako imali svoje uspone i padove. Danas, kada se tu i tamo na beogradskom aerodromu Nikola Tesla ili u samom avionu susretnem i prođem pored nekog poznatog lica iz svijeta danskog filma ili člana danske folkepartije, kakvog rokera iz nekog od 2 poznata rokerska klana, pomislim da se ipak nešto dešava. Da se 2 evropska krila, skandinavsko i balkansko, približavaju. Još više se obradujem kad sretnem nekog malog srpskog proizvođača vina koji se bori da opstane na ovdašnjem tržištu, snabdijevajući svojim produktima nekolicinu finih restorana. Nažalost, ne i velike lance supermarketa. Sve je nekako na nivou incidenta, malih, neću reći, nevažnih uspjeha, pa ipak. Jer to nije ono što priželjkujemo. Možda priželjkujemo nešto poput gorenja, neku veliku, jel tako, sveobuhvatnu pokrivenost danskog i skandinavskog tržišta. To su sadašnje dileme koje se javljaju spontano, tu i tamo, ali ipak da svemu nekako damo reda, počet ću od samog početka. Srpsko-skandinavski odnosi, kao uostalom i odnosi s drugim evropskim zemljama i regionima, prolazili su kroz različite faze. Budući da se istorijski kontekst mijenjao, u što spadaju odnosi velikih sila, ratovi, pa onda su tu i posljedice ekonomsko-tehnološkog razvoja, te kulturna saradnja, ti odnosi su imali svoje uspone i padove. Sve je počelo u 19. vijeku kulturnom saradnjom koja je stajala u znaku slavljenja svega što je nacionalno. Tada je danski pisac Hans Christian Andersen proputovao tadašnjom Srbijom i 1842. objavio svoje čuvene putopise, svoj putopisni bazar u kojim je i veliko poglavlje Drijade Srbije, posvećeno našim krajevima. Tu je i prepiska Vuka Karadžića s eminentnim danskim sakupljačima nacionalnih umotvorina, poput Edvina Mariusa Thorsona. U tu saradnju treba ubrojati posjete Danskoj i raznim kongresima koje su još krajem 19. vijeka umješni Danci organizovali, odvodeći svoje goste da se dive Hamletovom grobu, danskoj poljoprivredi i napretku postignutom na tom polju. I sve bi vjerovatno još dugo ostalo na tom nivou, na nivou dugoročne kulturne saradnje i priprema za uspostavljanje diplomatskih odnosa. Ostalo bi da se nije dogodio veliki rat, Prvi svjetski rat, sa svim svojim tamnim stranama, stradanjima i pogibijama, brojnim srpskim ratnim zarobljenicima koji su čamili u nemogućim uslovima po austro-ugarskim i turskim logorima. Očekivalo se da bi Skandinavci mogli pomoći da prežive zbog svojih veza sa centralnim silama koje su Danci i ostali Skandinavci imali, pogotovo Šveđani, koji su, iako neutralni, naravno ulagali ogromna sredstva u ratnu industriju koju su Njemci kupovali. I pomogli su, zahvaljujući upornom radu vlade Kraljevine Srbije, koja, iako i sama u teškim uslovima i u egzilu na Krfu, uspijeva da im pomogne, dostavi pomoć upravo preko tih neutralnih zemalja. Ali ono što je sad ubrzavalo vladu Nikole Pašića, moćnog baju, i regenta Aleksandra Karađorđevića da krenu u diplomatsku ofenzivu, to je bila opšta politička situacija koja se strašno brzo mijenjala, pogotovo na političkom planu. Upravo iz tog ugla mogućnosti Nikola Pašić, tadašnji predsjednik vlade, uz ambasadore Miljenka Vesnića i Jovana Jovanovića u Parizu i Londonu i još sa nekima, sagledavajući perspektive svijeta poslije Velikog rata, u kome će se odnosi velikih sila, u kom su se odnosi velikih sila bitno promijenili, ne zaboravite, Rusija, veliki saveznik, će uskoro 1917. izaći iz rata zbog Oktobarske revolucije, ali će s druge strane Sjedinjene Američke Države pod Woodrow Wilsonom ne samo ući u rat na strani saveznika Antante, nego će i donijeti onu povelju, o samoopredjeljenju koja će naročito pogodovati i inicirati daljnju diplomatsku borbu Nikole Pašića. To će reći, nestaće Austro-Ugarske i šanse za državu koja će objediniti većinu Srba pod jednim državnim krovom znatno će se povećati. Cilj je bio lobiranje među malim zemljama. Pa sada se znači treba brzo reagovati, brzo nekako sagledavati u kom pravcu će ići događaj, pa i među skandinavskim zemljama, te zemljama današnjeg Beneluxa i na Pirinejskom otoku, gdje je po ubrzanom postupku trebalo otvoriti diplomatska predstavništva. Uz to spriječiti bugarsku propagandu, koja je već postojala i radila protiv srpskih interesa. Meni je žao što doktora Topalovića nema, on zna mnogo više o tome, o stavu Švedske i ovako stajanju na strane Bugarske. Međutim, evo sad stvari su se ipak nekako proaktivnom aktivnošću vlade Srbije nekako ubalansirale i Srbiji se činilo korisnim lobiranjem među malim zemljama, čiji je značaj svakako porastao u svijetu rata, nakon rata. Izbilja, svi ti napori rezultirali su otvaranjem ambasade Kraljevine Srbije, gle čuda, na današnji dan, 19. oktobra 1917. godine u Kopenhagenu, kada je doktor Milutin Jovanović predao akreditive danskom kralju Kristijanu X. I na 105 godina od proslave otvaranja ambasade Srbije izdata je jedna poštanska marka na kom su regent Aleksandar i Kristijan X. U svemu ovome o saradnje nacionalnih preporoditelja, prepisci Vuka Karadžića, izvode iz Drijada Srbije Hosi Andersena i impresijama srpskih učenih ljudi Hamletovim grobom, otvaranju prve ambasade u Kopenhagenu, saznajemo iz knjige Kraljevina Srbija. Čekajte, šta je sad? Aha, evo te lijepe knjižice koju je, znači, pregovor je napisala Jasmina Mitrović Marić i bivši ambasador, bivši naš ministar vanjskih poslova Nikola Selaković. Pogledajte, ako ste u mogućnosti, ovu lijepu knjigu iz serije Državnog arhiva, mala biblioteka, Državnog arhiva Srbije, koja treba da pomogne našim diplomatama i ne samo njima, nego i nama da malo bolje razumijemo zemlje u kojima smo se našli, istoriju ne samo diplomatskih odnosa, imate tu i običnih ljudi, ljekara, upravo ovako simpatičnih predstavnika medicinske branše koji su se u raznim uslovima, pogotovo u Prvom svjetskom ratu, našli na srpskoj strani da pomognu. Još jedan put će srpsko-skandinavski odnosi doživjeti ubrzanje 90-ih godina prošlog vijeka, kada se Danci pojavljuju u ulozi mirovnih trupa. O tome neću puno da kažem, da govorim, obzirom da trenutno u Danskoj je gotovo jednom sedmično, čini se, ide jedan serijal u kome danski predstavnici mirovnih trupa u Hrvatskoj govore o svojim traumatičnim doživljajima, pogotovo u doba Oluje, kako su prošli, tako da onima koji mogu neka pogledaju, da dobiju malo kompletniju sliku o svemu tome. Ja bih samo završila ovako možda jednom i dilemom i ovako jednom zapitanošću. I kažem ovako na kraju, nema u našim odnosima puno ekonomsko-tehnološke saradnje, nema velikih ugovora, bila sam bliska s nekim ljudima iz tog svijeta, privredne komore bivše Jugoslavije, ne sjećam se da je bilo tako velikih ugovora, nažalost, ali šta je interesantno u svemu tome? Interesantni smo mi. Ja mislim da je taj ljudski faktor, mi koji smo pogotovo došli u jednom značajnijem talasu, brojniji, bolje obrazovani, došli smo u tim tragičnim godinama 90-im, tako da možda sad na nama je nekako i da kritički se osvrnemo na sve te odnose, ali smo s druge strane i na nama je odgovornost da te odnose dignemo na jedan nivo partnerstva ili bar da vidimo ovako otvorenih očiju, da gledamo kakva je naša pozicija, ali ja apelujem isto tako da vidimo kakve su tradicije integracije, jer ja koliko sam ovako uspjela da se snađem u toj šumi, nije isto biti integrisan u Danskoj. Danska koja poznaje jednostavno jedan valjak u integraciji, svi već u narednoj ili naredne 2 generacije očekuje se da budu Danci, do jednog modela koji je malo blaži, umjereniji u Švedskoj. Vi koji ste ovdje u Norveškoj reći ćete svoje iskustva, a ja bi sada, pošto eto nekako ste dobili ako ništa moju impresiju o svemu, ja bih htjela da kaže Јоханс nešto pa da ovako idemo jednom na našem, jednom o religiji. Johannes, jeg har fortalt lidt om Knutte og dansk serbisk forbundet i belysning af perioden i 1900-århundredet, hvor der var Vukaradžić og H.C. Andersen, hvor der var den idé, som opblomstrede om nationaliteten som fundamentet for at opbygge staten, hvor også var den samme proces gældende på Balkan, og balkanske lande gik igennem det samme, men samtidig gruppe mennesker, som var interesseret i gamle samlinger, gamle historien, var jo også interesseret at skabe netværket, både i Danmark, jeg har hørt også, det var det samme i Norge og Sverige. Men interessant er jo, at forholdene gik jo langsomt opad. Men det var den første verdenskrig, der gav en, kan man sige, energien op, jo. Og så var det, jeg har selvfølgelig set positioner rigtig Serbien, hvor vi skal handle for at skabe staten, hvor de fleste serber skal være i en stat, og så det lykkedes, men så skulle vi handle hurtigt, for situationen har ændret sig. Rusland gik jo ud af krigen, og så var det jo amerikanerne kom ind, og Wilson kom med sine 14 punkter, og som betød også, at folk har lov til at bestemme selv, og selv bestemme selv, og så kom jeg til 90'erne omkring, hvor så alt var på prøven, og så selvfølgelig, hvor nordiske lande deltog som under Forenede Nationer, og så er det en kapitel for sig selv. Ja. Så jeg vil så overtage jo din Johannes. Han er så hård, jeg presser ham, du skal. Det er så fint. A respekt. On će govoriti, nadam se, kako sam ga zamolila, malo o toj religioznoj saradnji iz perspektive koju on dave.
There is this famous saying that the soul of the Serbian people is the Orthodox faith, and that's a good fundament, a good basis to understand the Serbian, Norwegian or Scandinavian relation in our time and in the time coming in the future, I think. I will begin with the journey of my spiritual father. His name is now Dorothei, Archimandrit Dorothei. Maybe some know him. I think some 30 years ago he went as a young man to at that time Yugoslavia, to Serbia, and became a monk there. And after serving there in 10 years, he came back to Sweden, and well, no, I'm simplifying a lot, but he started a monastery there, the Holy Trinity Monastery. It's in Borås, some 1 hour driving south of Göteborg. And he's the spiritual father of me and my family, and also, let's say, spiritual father of our parish. Why do I mention this Swede? He is an ethnical Swede. Why do I mention him in this in context? In this context, there is now a deanery in the Diocese of Scandinavia, former Diocese of Scandinavia in Great Britain, that has the name of Scandinavian Deanery, that serves in which there is parishes and the communities that serves in the vernacular language, that is Scandinavian languages mostly. We also use, of course, Serbian and Church Slavonic. But the bishop, Metropolitan Dositej, he blesses that it is mainly on Scandinavian languages. And why do we think that why is Orthodox faith so important for the relation between the Norwegian or Scandinavians and Serbians? It's very important because when you are Orthodox, you cannot just cherry pick whatever nice thing you like, and to celebrate that you have to be part of a tradition, a living tradition that is in continuity with all back to the apostles, to the first Pentecost when the church was organized. And because of that, it's very important that we are given from you Serbians this richness, these traditions, that this praxis, this phronema of Orthodox faith, and this is what the Serbian church, the Serbian people did and is doing, and I suppose they will also do in the future. I think it's fruitful also to mention or to describe for you. Maybe some of you don't know the horizon in which the Serbian Church established its parishes, but I will very briefly explain the history of our parish and some other parishes. Father Dorothei, he as said, is Dean of the Scandinavian Deanery, and he established in I think 6 or 7 years ago the parish in which I live now and serve mostly. We started in a small house at my farm that for the moment was not in use for any other purposes, so we did a lot of work there, practical work, started a mission. There was our family. I have a huge family, 6 children. It's my parents living there, and so we are a lot of people. We became Orthodox, I think, 11 years ago. So, a Serbian priest was sent there. He lived there in a city close by, and he came to serve liturgy in this small house. And after a while, we grew. Some Serbians came to we're part of parish, and some Norwegian and some Russians and every other nation, and we had to rent another place. So now we are renting a place that is bigger, more suitable for our parish, and we also started at the farm to construct a new church at my property at the farm, and it will be a little bit bigger so that we can grow naturally, have more people. And this church will be named after Saint Vukasin Mandrapa. You know him? Yeah. He's the saint from Jasenovac camp. And this was very natural for me, as long as it's not officially saints in the group that was sent to Norway. I'm sure there is some very saintly people there that died for the faith in Norway during Second World War. But until now, there has not been an official document on that. So we are donating the church to Saint Vukasin. And it will be painted icon of him that will be also there, so that people can come there to remember by looking at his image. Also, especially the children that were sent to Norway to slave labor and to die, that died here. We experience now a huge increase in the interest of the Orthodox faith in Norway. It's not only Serbian Orthodox, but also the other Orthodox congregations, of course. But I can only speak as priest in the Serbian church, and I know we are experienced that people are coming. We have to baptize Norwegian people. And we have also the same situation in Oslo. We have the same situation in the parish in Kristiansand. I know in Oslo, in St. Nikolai Church, there is 15 catechumens. 15 is quite a lot. And also the same numbers in Kristiansand, I believe, 12 to 15 that was baptized last year. That's quite amazing, and that's it's not only happening, of course, in the parishes that use vernacular language, but of course it's more available to them. And we have also now, on the western part of Norway, 2 monasteries that came from the Greek church that are now in the Serbian church. And there is at least, I think, how many monastics from Norway? Maybe 4 from Norway, monastics, monks and nuns. That's very hopeful. That's amazing. So for the future, I think when we start to grow like this, it will only increase because it will be more and more available, and the riches and the treasures in the Orthodox tradition will be more available for the people. To make it even more available, we started, I think, last year, maybe 2023, a publishing company. Orthodox Forlag means, what means that in Serbian? Forlag, publishing? Publisher, Orthodox publisher. Where we do translations mostly. Wrote a couple of books that are not translation, but much of our work is translation. And I would say, like, much of content of that books that we publish is translation of Serbian modern saints. And we have the Justin Popovic, we have St. Nikola Velomirovic, and also newer theologians that we translate from Serbian, from English, whatever. Very useful, because I think in the Serbian church especially, they are very prophetic, very relevant for our culture. Very clear message. So when it comes to the relation between Serbia and Norway, it's very important that we maintain these good relations. That we, I hope we can, on the religious field, people can come from Norway to monasteries in Serbia, for instance, to live there, to experience more fully the faith. Because here we are, of course, a little bit, I will not say, we are not in the fullness, because the culture around us is of course not orthodox, and we don't have like big monasteries where everything is perfect. It's can never be perfect in this situation, but we try as best as we can, and we will work as hard as we can also to increase, to maintain this good relation that we have on the religious, spiritual field within Orthodoxy. Thank you.
Sorry, I just want, may I just...
No.
Just
No.
one second. Very important, very important.
Yeah.
Sorry, just, Johannes, I'm, because we were talking about the church relation with the church.
We'll take it later.
No, just to say,
Okay.
just thank you, sorry.
So
Very important, very important.
Okay.
About relations between the churches. When we came like refugees in the Limby, you know who helped us the mostly? Protestant church.
Yes.
Protestant church was one who came in our center, who helped our children to get in the school, who helped us with the food, calling us in the church, organized the dinners for us, help us to meet other Danish families and to be socialized with the Danish families, because they choose the families according to our children.
Yeah.
We had 2 children, they find the family with the children in the same age. So we visit each other. In the Danish people, in Danish church, they were who offer their homes and their food.
Ovo je divna primjedba i ja ću sad samo još da se nadovežemo. Ovo je neki dio tog kulturnoga dijela saradnje i sad bih dala riječ Jeleni Mila da kaže nešto o svom iskustvu.
Shall I continue in English?
Ja, možeš kasnije možda navrati.
Izvinjavam se, mnogo se izvinjavam.
It is, dobro, nekako reći ću na srpskom, ali bih više volila, but I would like more to say in English so everybody understands. I'll start with English and if I find out terrible. As hard, then I will quit or continue in Serbia. So past, nowadays and future, past, at least for the Serbs, is quite long. Johannes started from early beginning of the Christian tradition, and we can start even much longer if we take with the Vincha and things like that. People from Iceland ask me about, do you know what Vincha? Vincha? I said, what are you talking about? Vincha? I said, what Vincha? I said, about Vincha. Okay, Vincha, yes, do you know about Vincha? Yes, I know about Vincha, but how do you know about Vincha? Well, I know everything about Vincha. People from Iceland, you know. So we have this history, and then we have lyrics, then we have a Greek tradition, Latin tradition, I mean Roman Empire, and then Constantine, everything afterward, like a Christian tradition. So if we are talking about past, we can be a little bit, how can I stolt, proud about ourselves. It was not easy all the time, but and we somehow resist. I could say like flexible people. I'm not historical, but when I'm doing my job, which is researching mostly in historical persons, I'm diving quite deep inside of the spirit of the people, and then find out of these roles or historical persons that I'm exploring, and find out very, very interesting things, even historically, spirit of that time, and actually what we all gathering in our tradition, which is like a Serbian. So the history about Serbs is very not relative, it's very relevant, it's quite long, but since we have a lot of, how can I say, we have cross borders, and new historian made a new history, so we actually don't know. So we must discover again and again that's what we have. But some of us know that. So, and we are happy about that. When we are talking about today, I think that we must work. We have a huge task. We are not without reason here. I ask myself, wow, what I'm doing here. I'm not on my native language and doing theater. Well, probably I have something to do. And I really support people who are coming from Serbia, even from Balkans, that we are not by the case or something like not important our presence here. Yet it is very important, because I find out that the Scandinavian, I could say even Nordic part is like have some kind of hermesy, exactly the same as the Balkan has, like some kind of culture which is comparable but in the own way. I mean, film heritage, I could speak even more, because the Nordic way of making movies are very specific, so I think Balkan way of making movies is also very specific, and if we make a bridge there, then we have a really great story. If we mix these cultural differences, historical differences, way of thinking, dealing with everyday's life, and so our task here today is to work. We have to do so much that is not easy to explain, and every single person of us can do quite a lot, and that's why we are like resisting to the history. So why will not resist here? I must actually say something that I really feel here. We are great that we met here. I mean, people, writers from different parts of the Balkans, which are around the world. But actually, our presence here was like pozlačena, förgyllning, with your presence actually, because you are bekräftar, English word. Confirm, yes, confirm everything that we actually have with us. So for me, it's not easy always to explain to the Swedish people who we are, and it's sometimes very stupid, because I probably explained and I must explain again and again and again. It doesn't come so far. People who experience a little bit spirit of Serbs in different way, and I'm happy that you know our history, and there are people who know that and they are respecting very much, but your presence here actually give at least me idea of how can I say, proudness that we are coming from that country that is still existing here, from genuine people who are living here. So I'm happy because we are existing through you somehow here. When we speak about to make something the same in Sweden, I think that we need, beside our writers, come out with the people who, not Hammarskjöld, the guy who wrote this Zemlja, Lösland, kako beše, ono što nam je dolazio na predavanje.
Kristian Kakala.
Yes, he's one who really knew some history that even was new for me. I mean, to find people from inside who could actually support that what we are talking about. Yes, and that's what we are doing today, making our future. So I was Stoltenberg is one great history. Well, I think older Stoltenberg. Torvald, he get orden, medal from the city of Belgrade. It was for 5 years ago, and I thought he would start with his diplomatic work, the work in Balkans and in Belgrade. No, he started with the Bloody Way, the film that Norwegian people actually helped people from Serbia to survive this camp. So it was really interesting to hear. Something which is also for me interesting, culturally I explained that we are a little bit more complex. historically, because we are like cross borders, but anyhow, I find out in Finland, Runeberg, I don't know, do you know him? Swedish-Finnish poet that translates about 100 of Serbian epic and lyric songs, which is, I find out, the hugest heritage that we have in our, or let's say, Swedish genuine poetic language, translated Serbian poems, which is really big scout treasure, or that we must use, because it was this national romantic nationalism, romantic nationalism, like. But I used to say we didn't have romantic during that period, even it's called like this. Žarko Vidović is one of my next projects, because I met his daughter, Zaga Grip, and I put the two parallel stories about Žarko, who was taken from Sarajevo to Jasenovac to Norway, run away from that to Sweden, and then come back to Yugoslavia, which you mentioned actually in your presentation. So there is really lot of things, like Branko, who started this movie 33 Angels, and then start with the next project. Branko, are you here? Yeah. So also very important. We have so much things to say, to explore, to connect, to rebuild, to establish, because I think really that we have something to do something here. So that's it.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Ovo je dosta ovako lijepo smo se izvukli, mi smo domaćine peckali, mi smo bili provokativni, doduše i čuli smo mnogo toga. Jeg synes, vi kom til ende, vi var i provokative i forhold til, I to jo nationens dem, der skulle præsentere historien. Men selvfølgelig er det op til publikum, hvad de vil snakke om. Ja se nadam sada da je na vas red, da nekako trebamo da kažemo, onako spontano mislim i iz svoga nekoga iskustva, kako doživljavamo te odnose, kako mislimo da treba da se kreće. Jesi nešto htjela, Jelena?
Da, htjela sam nešto da kažem, da sam prvi, nisam znala puno, naravno, o odnosima, norveško-srpskim i srpsko-norveškim, i da je za mene ovo zaista nevjerovatan doživljaj, da vas tako slušam i prvo što se razumete između sebe, to mi je kao filologu predivno. Drugo što se pije vode iz česme, oduševljena sam. A treće, što je atmosfera takva i shvatila sam da uopšte nisam, kad me Aleksandar pozvao da dođem i da vas podržim, nisam razmišljala ni trenutka da li, samo kako ću se dobaciti, jel te sam malo u Norvešku, jer je ovo jedna jako lepa stvar. I smatram da bi trebalo u svakoj državi ovako nešto da se radi. I upravo to što je Jelena rekla, da predstavnici zemlje domaćina ili zemlje prijema budu tu, jer oni potvrđuju ono što mi svedočimo. Mislim da to je jako lepo. I neko je spomenuo danas, mislim, Sidoru Sekulić, i ona ima jedan divan citat. Kaže, proleće se voli, a jesen se pamti. Ova jesen će biti kod mene zapamćena ponovno.
Bravo, ajde molim da samo to na engleskom da malo oni čuju.
It was the first time that I heard of something about Norwegian-Serbian relations, and it was for me very interesting and exciting. And I'm for the first time here in your beautiful country. And I'm very happy to hear you, to understand each other between Swedish, Danish and Norwegian language. And I can drink water. It's for me very important in this great country. Yes, please. And I think we should, in every country where Serbs live, should do something like we do here now. And this is the more important topic, because you from this country are here, and your testimony is somehow we testimony something, and you
It's proof. It's a
you
proof.
prove, yes, you prove this our testimony. I don't know if I told it.
Yes.
Ja bih htjela da još neko ovako
Reći
komentariše.
pohvale.
Da, ne morate biti afirmativni, nije stvarno obavezno.
I would like to say.
Evo, Branko, ajde Branko.
Ja bih samo da ne bude mnogo reći poslije na norveškom hvalisanja naših prijatelja, ali zaista sam impresioniran hrabrošću i onim što sam danas čuo od naših norveških prijatelja. Zahvalio bi se i Johannesu, ocu Johannesu i Knutu na detaljima koje je izneo, činjenicama koje su dugo bile skrivane. To je, smatram, velika stvar za nas Srbe, kako u Matici, tako i nas koji živimo u Skandinaviji, da imao sam priliku, kao što sam i naveo, i da sam svedočimo o onome, da se uvek govorilo o stradanju Srba i o srpskim logorašima i o srpskoj deci, i da se narativ Jugosloveni kasnije javlja, a da je Knut i pored, ja znam, imao sam prilike da budem tu negde i vidio sam koliko je pritisak bio i tako dalje, da je uvek smogao snage i hrabrosti da napiše knjigu i da otvoreno govori o tome. To sam i danas čuo. Nisam imao prilike da pročitam knjigu, ali eto, čuo sam i želim još jednom da mu se na tome zahvalim, a ocu Johannesu želim da se zahvalim zato što imam prilike, jer živim u istom kraju, zaista na dosledan, jedan pravi način je reprezent naše vere, znači pravoslavne, i da ono što me posebno raduje da veliki broj Norvežana iskazuje želju da priđe pravoslavlju. Na tome im se iskreno zahvaljujem. Naravno i svima vama koji ste danas bili ovde i kako učesnicima u debatama, tako i vama iz publike koji ste dali veliki doprinos ovom događaju. Hvala vam puno.
Jesmo, čujemo i aplauz iz pozadine. Ja bih samo na jedno svoje iskustvo Skandinavije. Znate što, Skandinavija je divna kada ste u sistemu. A kada ste van sistema, boga mi, kada ste na početcima, to je već, bar dansko iskustvo je nešto drugo. Znate, ne da se ne osjećate dobro. Strašno je kad drugi odlučuju o vašoj sudbini. A u tom ste položaju kada ste izbjeglica u bilo kojoj zemlji, a ne znam kako je ovdje, ali to je moje osjećanje i doživljaj Skandinavije. Jeg har bare fortalt jer, Skandinavien er dejligt, når du er i systemet. Når du er udenfor, så er det en anden sag, og især i Danmark. I Danmark har jeg oplevet til begge to virkeligheden, både som flygtninge og som en statsborger. Så der er virkelig ting, hvor andre bestemmer over dig, det er jo nogen, selvom det virker lidt kontradiktorisk, for det vil danskerne ikke for sig selv, men så er andre udsat for den situation, og det er så en anden stor ting, og det kan vi snakke i evigheden om. Ako nemamo ništa, ili možemo li da zaključimo, izvinjavam se.
I was asked to say a few things. Can I have 5 minutes?
Yes. Relax, we have time.
Vi er ikke så mange.
Yes. So, this book, I just want to say a few words about this book. It's my friend Rako here who has written it. It's called As Јелена Was Ablaze. I can say this book, I know everything in this book is true. It gives a scope on what happened there in that time. On Gjellene, there were no journalists in that area there in this time. I was there, so I know it's true. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Zahvaljujemo se mnogo našem velikom prijatelju Knutu Toresonu i zahvaljujemo mu se i na svemu kako je bio sa Srbima u vrlo teškim trenucima, a Udruženje Srba Kosova i Metohije u Beogradu je zbog svih njegovih zasluga njega kandidovalo za Sretenjski orden Republike Srbije, tako da je naš predlog uvažen i naš Knut je dobitnik Sretenjskog odlikovanja, tačnije medalje Miloš Obilić.
Ovo je toliko ispričano živo, toliko kao da smo bili na licu mjesta. Ja stvarno nemam, ostala sam bez daha. Jeg næsten, det var så dynamisk og fortalt, at man skulle bare følge med, uden at man kan drikke vejr. Tak for det.
Molim vas da se ja zahvalim.
Ja, molim te, izvinjam se, kako izvolim.
Hvala. Stvarno sam počastvovan ovim izlaganjem gospodina Knuta o mojoj knjizi dvojezično izdanje o dešavanjima 17. marta na Kosovu i Metohiji. Gospodin Knut je motivisan da, kad je vidio ovu knjigu na dva jezika, motivisan je bio da nešto kaže o njoj, jer je i sam lično bio učesnik tih dešavanja 2004. godine, marta meseca. I on je osjetio dramatičnost te situacije i ostavio je i tragove, ostavio je i zapise o tome, ali se pre svega borio protiv onoga što je remetilo grozno čitavu tu situaciju i atak na one Srbe koji su još bili tada na Kosovu i Metohiji. Ja sam u toj knjizi, samo da kažem ukratko, ja sam u toj knjizi ne samo opisao stradanje Srba, a cilj svih tih ekstremnih albanskih pripadnika, mnoštvo je bilo na ulicama svih gradova, pa i Gnjilana, naročito je bilo strašno tamo gdje je gospodin Knut, kao pripadnik snaga Ujedinjenih nacija, bio zadužen, a to je Čaglavica i Gračanica, mesta u neposrednoj blizini Prištine. Ali i u Gnjilanu je isto tako bilo, kao i u drugim mestima. Ja sam u toj knjizi, pored tih stradanja, pojedinačno po svakoj porodici, svakom domaćinstvu srpskom, kako je sve to bilo prognano, zapaljeno, uništeno i tako dalje. Ja sam tu iznao i nešto što neki pojedini moji saplemenici se nisu baš slagali, a to je koliko se pojedini Albanci, komšije, zalagali, ali to je mali broj bio, ali i to je bilo značajno da spase neke Srbe, komšije, i te slučajeve mi znamo, i te slučajeve sam ja obradio u ovoj knjizi, jer je, mislim, to bilo veoma važno za svaku srpsku porodicu u tom momentu. Povukli su komšije Srbe iz njihove kuće u svoj dom, jer znaju da bi ta kuća od ekstremista bila napadnuta, zapaljena i uništena. Ali sam tu izneo i, ko ima priliku može to da vidi, izneo sam i odnos Kvora i Unmika u tim dešavanjima. Nije bio uvek fair i svuda. Kao što je gospodin Knut nastupio u Čaglavici i u Gračanici. Ali i tamo je po Prištini i u ovom Gnjilanu gdje sam ja bio, bilo je delimične zaštite, da tako kažem, od strane pripadnika Ujedinjenih nacija. I jednostavno kažu, evo, mi ćemo da vas zaštitimo. i zaštitili su 2 sata, 3 i onda kažu, dođu, više vas ne možemo štititi nego uklonite se odavde i bežite. Gdje da se beže nego u porti Gnjilanske crkve gdje je bilo ipak nekako
utočište
podnošljivo, ali i odatle sutradan, ne nego uveče, ja sam već bio evakuisan i moja porodica, ali već uveče, ne mogu se sjetiti da li je sutradan, morali su i to zaštitno mesto u porti Gnjilanske crkve Svetog Nikole da napuste i Kor nas je konačno zaštitio i preneo u stanicu policije gdje smo stvarno bili već zaštićeni i onda su nas raspoređivali sutra, preksutra po selima, oko srpskim selima i tamo smo već bili smešteni kao izbjeglice. Evo to sam htio da kažem da je stvarno bila dramatična situacija koju gospodin Knut poznaje izuzetno dobro. I hvala!
I cannot thank you. Sincerely, I cannot thank you because it's emotional. When I go to Belgrade, when I feel like first class citizen, I'm in my own country, I speak the language, I feel kind of free. And sometimes I didn't feel that way in Norway. And the fact that you are so involved in bringing the truth, being so involved into our history, how can I say, hugging us, welcoming us, and the things that you did and the things that I learned from you today, I feel much more prouder of being Serbian and much more free in Norway. So I cannot thank you.
Sad, mi smo odlučili da dodijelimo zahvalnice svima koji su nam pomogli, učesnicima i tako dalje. Evo, ja ću zamoliti gospodina Svetu Lazića ispred Saveza srpskih udruženja u Švedskoj da dođe i da... Ćete vi?
Evo, baš mi je drago.
Hvala. Bila mi je čast da prisustujem danas ovde i da budem sa vama. Kao što sam i rekao, imao sam... Ovo je prevazišlo moje očekivanja svako je sinio za danas, tako da mi je bilo jako velika čast da sam ovde bio danas sa vama i svakako tu smo da jedni drugi podržimo i da u ovom radu pomognemo. Hvala najlepše. Hvala svima. Zamolio bih gospođu Jelenu Maksimović da nam dođe i da zahvalnicu izvolite.
Jelena.
Hvala.
Jelena.
Hvala lepo.
Hvala ti na
Sada bih zamolio gospođu Vesnu Brink ispred udruženja Kosovo i Metohija u Norveškoj također da priđe, izvolite.
Ne znam čime se ja
kako niste, vaš
baš jedna divna energija je s vama došla lepo. Hvala vam lijepo.
Trebamo da se zahvalim
Pa,
svima. Ovo je veliki dan za sve nas i baš nam je bilo potrebno da čujemo pesnike i umetnike i književnike i istoričare i zahvaljujem se duboko ovom centru. Tu je puhalac najvažniji element. Hvala najlepše na mestu koji ste otvorili za nas i hvala puno za postojanje Srpskog kulturnog centra u Oslu koji nam je izuzetno značajan. Bez vas i bez ovog mesta ne bismo imali ovako fantastičan dan. Hvala najlepše.
Ja bih se samo nadovezao na ove reči. Pozivam gospodina Vladimira Puhovca da dođe.
Nadam se da si se našao u ovoj našoj priči za danas. Evo dođi da se islikaš. Da, slikaš nego šta.
Da, okej. Hvala vam.
Ja bih sada pozvao jednu divnu osobu koja je bila također od neverovatne pomoći, podrška. To je gospođica Bojana Petrović. Gospođica.
Izvoli, baš ste bili ukrasi, ovo je organizacija, znači mnogo. Hvala vama što ste došli.
Hvala puno. Pozvao bih jednu damu koja je uvek podrška u najtežim i sa puno razumevanja i da nje nije bilo iskreno, smatram da mi u ovome ne bi uspeli. Svako je doprineo, ali što se mene tiče, zaista jedna divna osoba. Ja nemam reči kako da to iskažem, to je naša Јелена Мила.
Bravo.
Hvala i vama.
Gospođa Vesna Mitić. Iz Stokholma.
Želim nove zbiljke da napišemo i predstavljamo ovdje na sličnim skupovima.
Zadovoljstvo mi je bilo da budem
Evo ovde.
danas sa vama. Hvala puno.
Sada bih zamolio takođe jednog velikog prijatelja ovog dešavanja i književnih susreta. To je otac Јоханс koji je dao ogroman doprinos, podršku od prvog dana da dođe i da primi zakonicu. Ajde nam ostale zakonice.
Ajde da se slikamo.
Ovde držim Knutovu, ali nek sačeka, pošto smo ga mnogo hvalili.
Da se malo opravimo.
Gospođa Ljiljana Bulajić od prvog dana, znači, vredno radila sa nama. Hvala vam na ogromnoj podršci i na svemu što ste učinili.
To si mi dao priliku da... Znaš, nije uvijek sve, mora se iznati.
Slikaj se sa zahvalnicom.
Šta, šutim, ja?
Stavi zahvalnicu pred sobom.
Evo, tu smo.
Gospodin Ratko Stojiković.
Poezijima na snazi da ovo izrazite. Ovamo. Ovamo. Hvala. Kako Jasmina kaže.
Velika zahvalnost i gospođi Milki Kajganić koja je jako sa povređenom nogom smogla snage, došla nam iz Švajcarske. Hvala puno.
Ovo je prva dama našeg skupa.
Gospodin Stanislav Kojić sa Kosova i Metohije. Hvala, pored svega.
Hvala.
I meni. Nadam se da ćemo opet se viđamo.
Pa, Bože zdravlje.
Hvala svima.
Gospodin Knut Hlovik Turasan.
Za više ovakvih plavih šljemova.
Gospodin Aleksandar Bulajić.
Taj si. Organizacija, stani, ajde malo.
Da nisam dobio zahvalnicu, nema naslikama nigdje ne bilo, ne.
Zato slika.
Naša draga Jasmina Stojiković. Pozvao bih gospodina Aleksandra Draganovića. Da film.
Aleksandre, koji broj? Aleksandar 1, Aleksandar 2.
Sasvim nebitno. Hvala, uživno.
Ništa ne daje.
Ima jedna floskula reći, hvala je malo.
Bravo, to je to.
Nadgornjavamo se, ali ne.
Kosić. I da li je neko od predstavnika ambasade naše ovdje? Nije. Imamo još jednu damu i mislim da niko nismo.
Nema nikog za ambasade. Sad rekao će nam raditi kasnije ko bude mogao za raditi. Ništa to, prevećeš u posadu.
Srati na kavu.
Ima zakonca za tebe.
Imamo 10 komisiju.
Ti sve 10. Ko je šastoć?
Naša teta Lola Kosić. Ovo je jedna dama koja nije književnik, ali ovo je neverovatna podrška ovom događaju, logistika, bez nje.
Hvala vam puno.
Hvala i vam.
Hvala vama, divno ste u paku.
Naši srpsko-norveški susreti su završeni. Hvala vam na posjeti. Ajde sad da se svi još malo poslužimo, da kažemo doviđenja jednim drugima. Doviđenja u suštinskom smislu da se zbilja vidimo i sastanemo još.
Do ponovnog Slušaj, sad...
Ja sam tek došao, tako da...
Jeste, u pravo vreme.
Do kraja. Ali mora da škljocne. Da,
Još
jedno.
Još jedno. Samo još neko.
Može.